Hello aspirants, welcome to another session of the daily newspaper analysis. This video is brought to you by the Gurudev Academy. My name is Ashwin. Before we begin, due to the incest rain that we are seeing all over the country, I hope everyone is safe. I hope this rain is not disrupting your preparations. So moving on. So first of all, we will look at the questions that I gave at the end of the video. Friends, please comment the answers in the video in the comment section below. And also, if you have any queries regarding anything about the sessions that we are doing, any doubts, any suggestions are also welcome. So please make use of the comment section there. So the first question that we saw was, who is the first visually impaired MP in the independent India? This was regarding the disability policy bill that we discussed yesterday in the video. So the answer here is Sadhan Gupta. Okay. Secondly, which of the following countries is not a member of I2U2? See, I2U2 was in news yesterday because India is having some agreement with these countries. So these countries, the grouping becomes important. Next up, if in the coming newspapers, if there is some editorial regarding to these I2U2, I'll discuss it. So here, when we look at the options, Israel, India, UK, and US is given. Actually, UK is not the member here. It is UAE that is the member. Okay, so the four members of I2U2 group are India, Israel, UAE, and US. Right. So this is mainly right now the food parks. Okay, the government is trying to have an agreement with the food parks about the food parks. So thirdly, with monkeypox, see, India has registered its first case of monkeypox in Kerala. We will be looking at the monkeypox in detail later on. Firstly, we'll look at the question here. So monkeypox is a viral zoonotic disease that occurs primarily in temperate areas of Europe. This is wrong, because it occurs in tropical areas of Western and Central Africa. Okay, it is mainly found in Western and Central Africa. Secondly, monkeypox virus is mostly transmitted to people from wild animals such as rodents and primates, but human to human transmission also occurs. This statement is right. Okay. So the human to human transmission that is occurring, it is mainly through respiratory tracts or due to sexual contact. So the second option is right. Third, the last question, which of the following does not, the question is wrong here. Which of the following countries does not have a border with Iraq? Some printing mistake here. So it is Turkey, Syria, Jordan, and Iran. It is Iran. See, West Asia is a very important region for geopolitics, since Joe Biden is there, the president of US, and recently he has declared that there has to be a two-nation policy for Israel and Palestine. So West Asia becomes very important. Please have a look at it. Please mark the important locations in your maps. Moving on. We will look at this article that is given in the editorial. The editorial talks about the Ukraine war and the return of Eurocentrism. Okay, so the editor here talks about what Eurocentrism is, what are the implications for the world, and why suddenly Europe feels that it has to take the center stage in global politics. So first of all, when we look at the history, we all know Europe has been dominant in the past by its colonialism, by its expanded mercantilism. Fine. So there was a saying that the sun never sets on the British kingdom. Why? Because British had colonies all over the world. Similarly, the Dutch, the French, the Portuguese, okay, these all were very dominant during our medieval times. But later on, as the time passed, as other countries also gained some of military power, political power, like for the example, as we take US here, post war period, that is post Second World War, US was dominant and Europe fell back because Europe was reconstructing. Fine, Europe started reconstructing and Europe took the road of pacifism. Okay, pacifism. That is, whenever if there was any conflict in the world, Europe always tried to pacify the matter, not militarily engage with any of the countries. Fine. So that was the past. Post-period diminished centuries old domination of Europe, as I explained, which led to multipolar world. Since the World War ended, we have been seeing multipolar world. We have been seeing this multilateral institutions like the UN that have been established. So this was the change that led Europe took the backstage. Then now the writer says that this balance, it will tilt back again. Now again, all the geopolitics will be centered around Europe only. Why? Because US US is disinterested. US is mainly interested in the transatlantic region. It is dominating the transatlantic region. Also, US is fatigued by the long war it was involved in Iraq and Afghanistan. Fine. So it is not very clear whether US is ready for another war right now. Then the US election. See, we have seen in the past. Okay, so if the Republicans, if they come to power again in 2024, what may happen is the Europe, okay, the Europe will start thinking of its security on its own, because when the Republican president was there in the last term, what had happened is he was trying to cut the finances to NATO, and NATO forms a very important regional security for European countries. Fine. So if such events take place, then there will be the European centrism will be back. Moving ahead, see, the writer also says that the Europe right now is shifting from pacifism to insecurity-induced militarism. That we have seen with the recent war. That what may the Eastern European regions, okay, they are trying to militarize itself because they are insecure about their regional safety. Fine. So previously, as I mentioned earlier in this article, I said that Europe was more concentrating on pacifism. Europe was concentrating on dealing with talks, okay, deliberative talks or economic sanctions when some global issues would happen, but geopolitical issues would happen. But now it is trying to, the shift is happening to insecurity-induced militarism. Also, existential insecurity. This is clear again by the recent war. See, we have new NATO members that have joined, like Finland and all. They are joining these they are joining NATO as well as Sweden. Okay, Sweden has joined NATO because it is very insecure about its regional safety, regional security. It believes that if it joins NATO, then the grouping of NATO will protect its region from some military aggression from Russia and all. Fine. So military existential insecurity is also one of the reasons why we believe that European centrism will be back. So what are the result here? So result is visible shift in military spendings, okay, like Germany. If we take the example of Germany, okay, Germany used to spend around 1.7 of its GDP on military over 2 decades, but now it has increased it to 2%. Fine. So there is visible shift right now that is happening in Europe regarding to militarization. Secondly, that is reignite strength of EU, okay, reignite strength of EU and NATO. Okay, so the Europe believes that multilateralism is not helping it. Multilateral institution like the UNSC. We will take both the points together. So second and third points is that Europe is not believing in the multilateral institutions that are present, and multilateral institutions are not helping out the situation. Like the UNSC. UNSC has not been taking any drastic steps since the war has started. There have been votes passed, there has been abstaining of votes. India has been on the one side of the war. India has not taken any side in the war, sorry. So when such multilateralism is not working, then the European countries are trying to concentrate on the regional organizations like EU and NATO. So these are the result, what is happening. This is the result of Eurocentrism. Here, see, from first, okay, since the global order has been established after the World War, what is happening is the Europeans are already having disproportionate ability to shape world order. For example, when we take WTO norms, okay, WTO norms are mainly shaping to integrate the interest of these European countries. Fine. So whatever the global order is right now, even if you take the digital tax that is being applied on these GAFA companies, the big tech companies that we have, okay, it is mainly to integrate the interest of Europeans. Europe already has this disproportionate power with it. Then what may be the problems associated with it? See, the problems with it is unilateral norm setting discussions among Europeans, among the Europeans, for Europeans. Okay, so what may happen is, if Eurocentrism returns, what will happen is Europe will try to set a global order again, and this global order, the talks, okay, the norm setting talks and discussions, they will be done by the Europeans, for the Europeans, as well as the non-European countries. So this one-sided discussions will not help us establish a proper global order. It will be mainly centric towards the European regions. Secondly, friends versus enemies Okay, so say with the return of Eurocentrism, we may also see the period of return of Cold War. During the Cold War, every country in this world had to choose a side, whether they were siding with the US or whether they were siding with the USSR. So if Eurocentrism returns again, then there may be chances where the friends versus enemy classification may start again. Thirdly, non-recognition of problems in the non-Western countries. See, when these the main topic, okay, the main discussion here is that Russia has been undemocratically attacking Ukraine here. Fine. So when Eurocentrism is established again, Europe will be concentrating mainly on the problems that is affecting the European regions, and it may not be taking care of some third world problems like poverty, education, which are prevalent in non-Western countries. Fine. So these are the problems which are associated with the Eurocentrism that is going to come up. When we look at Indian aspect, okay, India has the biggest dilemma because India has not sided with anyone in this war. So when India has always been a good friend of European countries. India has good relation with European Union as well. But India's stand right now is not being held in good terms by the European countries because India has already started importing Russian oil. So this may in a way European countries believe that India is funding Russia's war by buying oil. So India may find a dilemma. India may find itself opposing the setting of agenda. Okay, it may stand up to the European countries here, and it may oppose the standard setting that these European countries are doing, or it can join the bandwagon here. It can join the Eurocentrism, and it can work together with the European countries to establish a global order. So this is the crux of the article and the editorial. Please read the editorial. The editorial is written very beautifully. Then moving on. So coming to this monkeypox, this is another editorial that has come up. See, monkeypox, you have to understand few things here. You have to know what type of a virus is. Okay, it is a zoonotic disease. Okay, it comes from the family of smallpox. Okay, it comes from the family of smallpox, and it is endemic to Nigeria. It is endemic to Nigeria. We saw in the previous slides the questions. It is found mainly in the tropical regions of eastern and your central African countries. Fine. So these are the main points. Moving on. See, the first infection of this monkeypox was found in 1958. Okay, and the first mainly found in the monkeys. Okay, monkeypox, monkeys, obvious. And the first case of human transmission was found in DRC, that is your Democratic Republic of Congo. It was the first human to human transmission. Okay, so please remember that this human to human transmission is possible. It is an endemic disease previously, but now since the cases are rising, it is an epidemic. Fine. And this year only we had cases in Europe, we have cases in US that has been detected, and India recently has detected its first case of monkeypox. Fine. And see here most of the transmission that is happening, it is mainly happening when a man and a man are in a sexual contact. Fine. So most of the transmission are having to this time, or when there is some gathering and there are multiple sex partners. Fine. So this is how the transmission is taking place. Since this monkeypox is being declared as an epidemic, we have to know what the difference of endemic, epidemic and pandemic is. So endemic, when we look at it, endemic is constantly present in a population or a region. Like for example, malaria. Okay, so malaria is constantly present in the African regions. Okay, so such type of disease which is always present, okay, which is always present in a region or a population, then that disease is called as an endemic. When we look at epidemic is sudden increase in the case spreading through a larger population. Like previously we had one of the disease called Ebola. Okay, so Ebola was declared as an epidemic because the cases started rising very quick. That is why it was declared as an epidemic. When we look at pandemic, the most famous one, COVID infections. Okay, So when we look at pandemic, the definition is sudden increase in cases across several continents throughout the world. Fine. So these are the differences between epidemic, endemic, and pandemic. Please make a note out of it. Also, whenever a global health emergency is happening, it has to be always declared by the WHO. Okay, WHO declares the global health emergency. Even during the time of COVID, it was WHO who declared the global health emergency. Moving ahead, Iran, Belarus to be the newest member of SCO. SCO is your Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Very important organization when it comes to India, because here India has Russia on one side, China, Pakistan on one side, and 4 Central Asian countries on one side. See, Russia has always been a traditional member, a traditional friend of us. We have always maintained a good relation with Russia. But China and Pakistan are our natural foe. Okay, they are our natural foe. We always have some of the other issues that were going on with China and Pakistan. But still, we are sitting at the same table as them in SCO. Then the 4 Central Asian countries. 4 Central Asian countries are very important for India because 4 Asian countries are rich in natural resources. In fact, all those 5 Central Asian countries are rich in natural resources here. India and these Central Asian countries will guarantee energy security for us. Fine, they are the sources of uranium, hydroelectricity power, okay, coal, natural resources. These are abundant. Okay, the natural resources are abundant in this region. That is why this organization becomes very important here. Then, moving ahead, so these are the members here. Again, we will just look at the members here. We have Russia here, then we have Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, India, Pakistan, and China. So the newest members here will be Iran and Belarus. Please remember that Iran and Belarus both are siding towards Russia in this war. Belarus has already given access to use its land to pass through to Ukraine. Iran has always been a good friend with Russia here, because Iran, the natural enemy of Iran and Russia is US. Okay, so that is why they both are those countries which are already with Russia in this war. There are few points that we will look at the SCO. So SCO, you have to remember that SCO is not just a political or an economic organization; it is a military organization as well. Okay, it is very rare for India to join any military organization, and I believe that this is the only military organization to which India is part of. Fine. Then it was established in 2001. Okay, and India and Pakistan were the latest members. India and Pakistan joined in 2017. Then RATS. RATS is your Regional Anti-Terrorism Structure. Okay, Regional Anti-Terrorism Structure. Here it is formed mainly to fight against regionalism, extremism, and terrorism. Okay, it is a regional anti-terrorism structure. Sorry. So please remember that RATS is not like NATO. It does not have a separate army. It is just like something where a dialogue happens about these 3 issues, that is regionalism, extremism, and terrorism. Then the language used in this forum is Russian and Chinese. Okay, since they are the dominating one, since they are the founding members, and the secretariat is in Beijing. Okay, so the last meet of SCO, it happened in 2021 in Dushanbe, Tajikistan. It was through virtual conference. Fine. Since the COVID pandemics were rising, this happened this happened in Dushanbe via virtually. So please keep a tab on these issues. SCO is a very important organization for India, because when we look at it, okay, multilateralism is dying. Okay, the global world order is dying. UN is mostly not functioning anything right now. UN has lost a lot of believers in it. So when the global order is falling, the regional organizations become very important right now. Fine. India is struggling to have a proper regional organizations. We already have seen how SAARC has died out. Okay, so such organizations where Pakistan is also part of it becomes very important for us. Then moving on, so here this is from the business section. The article here talks about a statement made by Nirmala Sitharaman, that is our finance minister. She has asked WTO to allow us to export grains from public stock to needy nations. Fine. So here many of the nations right now, due to inflation and the food shortages that is happening due to the war, that is present war that is going on in Russia and Ukraine, there is a lot of food shortage that is happening. That is why our finance minister has asked WTO to allow us to export grains, okay, as well as there have been few countries led by Singapore, okay, who are trying to increase its export to these poor countries, okay. But why does the WTO does not allow? As per the WTO norms, countries are not allowed to export food grains from public stock holdings as they are procured at subsidized rates, okay. Why? Because if you know the system of MSP, okay, MSP is higher than the market price, fine. This the grains that are bought are sent to FCI, that is a Food Corporation of India, and from here they are sent to states, and states distribute these food grains to public stock holding through PDS shops, okay. Your public distribution system, or again PDF shops, whatever PDF shops we have, fair price shops, for example, okay. So whatever grains the households they are getting here at the subsidized price, fine. So such grains, the WTO says that cannot be sold in international market because they are already available at subsidized rate. They will not help in global trade, okay. It is a violation of global trade rules. So when we look at the history of WTO and the norms on agreement on agriculture, see, WTO here considers subsidies in boxes, okay. It says that there are 3 types of subsidies. That is why we have 3 types of boxes. Here the subsidies are mainly subsidies are the main reason for trade distortion. Like consider the example of India and China. If India and China are trying to export the same quantity of rice, India can, example if I take for India and China, okay. So what may happen is India may try to sell the grains at 1 kg for 40 rupees, okay. 1 kg at 40 rupees, but China may sell this grain at 10 rupees. Why? Because China is giving subsidies for the farmers there. If the farmers are getting subsidies already from the government, then they can sell their grains at lower prices. So this is a type of trade distortion. This cannot happen. So there are 3 types of subsidies that the WTO classifies, and they are classified in 3 boxes, that is green box, amber box and blue box, fine. Here amber box means trade distorting, okay. They are trade distorting subsidies, like the example I gave here. So what kind of trade distorting subsidies that can be considered, okay. So these are export subsidies. Like if you consider the Chinese farmer, okay, he is getting subsidy on import. Like if you import these grain, we will give you 50 rupees extra, fine. So when such subsidies are given, then normally the grains are sold at lower prices. Then this is not allowing for a fair competition in the market, fine. So this is distorting the trade. Here we mean distorting the trade means it is unfair, it is not competitive enough, fine. So these are export subsidies, they are distorting, fine. And then when we look at the green box and blue box, green box and blue box are those subsidies which are not distorting, fine. They are okay to give. The government here, the WTO allows the government to give this subsidies at any level, fine. So WTO agreement on agriculture, it was signed in 1994. The main aim of this is to remove trade barriers as well as to operate international trade market transparently, fine. These are the 2 main objectives, and WTO under this agreement of agriculture has defined these 3 boxes: the green box, amber box and blue box. So this is all about it. Moving on, this has come in the front page, okay. This is about your national this is about your national institutional ranking framework, okay. National institutional ranking framework. These are the higher educational institutions, and they have been ranked according to the quality of education. There is only 2 points that you have to remember here. NIRF, okay, it was started in 2015. Okay, it is the only ranking system which ranks the higher educational system, fine. It is the only ranking system which ranks the higher educational system. It was started recently in 2015, as well as it is released by MHRD every year, okay. Every year the Ministry of Human Resource Development, it releases this ranking here. Okay, so that's all. The paper was the articles were not much to discuss today, being a Saturday paper. Saturday paper rarely give up some informations, long or more information, but still don't skip the Saturday's paper. So you can follow us on these social media handles, that is YouTube, Telegram, Instagram and Facebook. Thank you. See you in the next video.